Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
Tanya, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, Mario.
Tanya, can you hear me?
All good, Mario. Thank you.
Okay.
จีค่ะ
Recording in progress.
Yes.
There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. The Secretary will read the first order.
Consideration of budgetary review and recommendation report of Portfolio Committee on Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs.
I now recognize the Honorable Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Thank you, House Chairperson. I move that the report be adopted.
Thank you. Request for declarations of vote has been received. I will now allow for up to 2 minutes. One member of each political party wishing to make a declaration the opportunity to do so. The DA.
Okay. Honorable House Chair, 66 dysfunctional municipalities later, multiple qualified audit findings, the latest being adverse, the Department of COCTA itself is a dysfunctional institution. This department saw a dim glimmer of light with the exit of former COCTA Minister Dlamini Zuma and the arrival of our current minister. Unfortunately, the minister was doomed from the start. That glimmer of light was short-lived. It's again with great concern that I address the ongoing issues plaguing COCTA. The financial performance has remained unchanged from the previous 2 financial years, with this department still the only auditee with qualified audit findings. Recent events and the persistent challenges reflected in the district development model highlights the fundamental incompetencies within this department and its leadership. The lack of proactive measures to resolve these conflicts and the absence of a robust framework for interventions in distressed municipalities reflects a leadership deficit within COCTA. It's imperative to hold those responsible for the management of our nation's governance structures accountable for these failings. What we find instead is a number of strategies that are crafted with macro management plans instead of direct intervention needed to eradicate cadre deployment. Performance monitoring at local government remains focused on processes only when quality outcomes are more urgent and useful in the immediate situation. Because of this disastrous condition of most municipalities, managers and directors are more focused on their own job security than the opportunity for innovation and transformation. Municipalities are facing a deeper funding crisis, both in their structural funding as well as access to new and different funnels of revenue. It is therefore, Honourable Chair, inconceivable that the 6th Parliament would ask the blind to lead the cripple across a broken bridge over a river infested with crocodiles of
Honourable
corruption.
Member, your time has expired. Honourable members, may I remind you that you only have 2 minutes to make a declaration. The EFF.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, let us state from the beginning that the EFF will reject this COCTA B RRR for 3 and 15 for obvious reasons. One of the reasons is that the minister is not even taking us serious, he's not even here. I'm talking about today. I'm saying the minister is not here today. Chairperson, this minister and
Honourable members
claim that they are operating under the mandates of the department. Let me just remind this minister, Chairperson, can you
honourable members
votes to shut up?
No, honourable member, please, let's address each other in respectful terms. I am not addressing honourable members who are human beings in that way. Please allow the honourable member to be heard. Please continue.
Thanks, Chairperson. One of the department's mandate is to promote sustainable development by providing support and exercising oversight over the provincial and local government. So now, the minister and the department failed to spend 4.3 billion from the allocation in her department. Sadly, Chairperson, this amount will be surrendered back to the National Revenue Fund. This is not the first time the underexpenditure happened in the department and an amount of 2.8 billion incurred in previous financial year. As that was not enough, Chairperson, again, there was an underspending by municipalities on disaster management condition grants. Can you imagine, Chairperson? Disaster management, a critical unit within the department, which is supposed to be on standby for 24 hours. So the failure must be attributed to the department, and there is no amount that can express the pain caused by poor people by the minister. Chairperson, this is a clear demonstration that the department does not have a capacity to exercise the oversight over the provincial and local government in a nutshell. The case in point is eThekwini municipality, whereby the eThekwini municipality failed to spend 1.6 billion that was meant for flood victim. And again, you ask yourself, Chairperson, if the department is supposed to be a supervisor or a big brother to a municipality, how is it going to manage that? Because they themselves, they've even failed to spend 4.3 billion from the allocated budget in their department. Chairperson,
Remember, your time is now expired.
Chairperson, we reject this budget, and we are saying that you can't be part of the
Thank you, Honourable
bureaucracy,
Member.
and you can't be the part of the failures of the department. Thank you, Chair.
The IFP.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Chairperson, since as far back as 2007, this House has been lamenting the state of our municipalities. And here we are, 16 years later, and things have only gotten worse. Chairperson, we have heard that of the 257 municipalities in our country, 163 municipalities are distressed, and 66 municipalities are dysfunctional. How then can the Department of Copter underspend 4.3 billion of the allocated budget, which is twice the under expenditure amount of the previous financial year? As I stated earlier this week, we cannot allow for this gross and blatant deprivation of crucial services from our people. Under expenditure directly equates to a lack of financial planning, the mismanagement of resources, and a serious lack of leadership. A further and related point of concern is the Department of Traditional Affairs under expenditure of 5.6 million. Surely these funds could have gone towards the protection of Amakosi and Izinduna, considering that we are increasingly seeing our traditional leaders being murdered. We have come to a point where we can no longer merely vocalize our disdain for the mismanagement of the governmental departments that are bleeding their hard-earned money and resources of the South African people. We therefore, as the IFP, call upon the people of South Africa to put an end to this in 2024, in the 2024 national elections. The IFP accepts the report. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The FF Plus.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. The ANC says it's a caring government, but they do not want the good story to be spoiled with facts. The fact is that the Northwest Province did not address even one petition in the current 5 years term, and that their petition committee only sit twice in the last 5 years. Petitions that is handed in by the people the ANC says they care for. In fact, in terms of the State of Local Government Overview Report, is that 89% of municipalities isn't able to respond to service delivery complaints, and repairs and maintenance cannot be fully executed due to the capacity and budget restraints. A fact is that low and medium capacity municipalities, that is the majority of municipalities, do not have the technical or financial capacity to plan and access or assess infrastructure. A fact is that the Treasury had to take back billions from municipalities due to the incapacity of the ANC government to spend. Therefore, the ANC government could not deliver. Fact of the matter is, the rotten governance of the ANC ensured the municipality is a major contributor to inflation. But the ANC government tells municipalities to increase their own revenue in struggling economy without delivering services. Die ANC is 'n mooi woorde om kiesers te paai gaan hulle inhaal in 2024. Want die kiesers hoor die mooi woorde maar lewe in 'n ander realiteit as die ANC politieke elite. Die feit is dat na 2024 se verkiesing die oppositie die geleentheid gaan hê om te herbou wat die ANC afgebreek het. It must be bad for the ANC members to listen on how the opposition bash them for bad governance. It must be bad for the ANC members in the House to listen to their failures. But what is worst is that they must stand up and defend the ANC, although they know that the opposition is speaking the truth. Look at the House today. There's actually more opposition than there is ANC in this House, and this will likely be in 2024. Thank you, Chair.
The ACDP. The ACDP. The UDM. ATM. Good. NFP.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. The National Freedom Party will support the BRR report of corporate governance tabled here today. However, we want to raise some of the concerns that we have, that 240 out of the 480 employees that were services were terminated by the department, under expenditure sitting at 4.3 billion. It's received a qualified audit opinion once again, with 3.4 billion in irregular expenditure. Only 38 of the 257 municipalities received a clean audit. Municipalities for fruitless and wasteful expenditure reached 4.7. Now, Chairperson, year in and year out, every time we debate these reports, we establish and identify the problem areas. Question is, why is it continuing? Are we doing enough to ensure that we change this, to ensure that we get better governance in these municipalities and other structures? I think we need to do a lot more. Very importantly, we've raised again and again the issue of not getting value for money, where corruption, particularly in the KwaZulu-Natal municipalities, corruption is rife, tender fraud is rife, and nobody seems to be wanting to take an interest in sorting those things out. And unless we do that, there will be very little money available to provide services to the people. It is because a handful of people in all these municipalities are benefiting from it. And that very same money that they use to ensure that people, councillors and things that are on the way are assassinated and removed as public representatives. This is what is happening. It's the money that's coming from these local governments is the root cause of coalitions collapsing, root cause of why there's assassinations in KwaZulu-Natal particularly. And I think the time has come when we need to deal with it. The NFP will support this report. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The AIC. Cope. Thank you. Cope. PAC. Al-Jama. ANC.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, the budgetary review and recommendation reporting process plays a critical role in the budget cycle in assessing the impact of the budget allocation and the program implementation of the Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Department and its entities. Municipalities that significantly underspent on disaster management conditional grants and other grants, with a notable focus on the disaster response following the floods of May 2022. The Portfolio Committee highlighted this issue of underspending during the discussion on the department's third quarter performance report. The financial year concluded with the department having an irregular expenditure, closing balance of 3.4 billion. We implore the department to take decisive action to ensure consequence management and discipline management that must be enhanced in local government. We, however, welcome the intervention by the department in supporting distressed municipalities with governance challenges and lack of technical capabilities. With regard to the traditional affairs, there was a decline in service delivery performance for the department. It decreased from attaining 100% of predetermined objectives in the 2021-22 to 82% in 2022-2023. The department encounters significant challenges in both human and financial resource capabilities. Efforts of the department to support the traditional leadership for development will enhance the rural development. The Department of Cooperative Government is urged to lead in improving its audit outcomes and the local sphere of government. The ANC support this report. Thanks.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections?
Please note the objection of the DA.
Yes, Chair, please denote the objection of EFF.
Objection of the Freedom Fund as well.
Are there any further objections? No further objections. Agreed to. The Secretary will read the second order.
Consideration of budgetary review and recommendation report of Portfolio Committee on Public Works and Infrastructure.
I now recognize the Honourable Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Thank you, House Chair. On behalf of the Chief Whip of the Majority Party, I move that the report be adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. Request for declaration of vote have been received. The DA.
Honorable House Chairperson, the sad reality facing South Africa is that the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure does not work. The sad reality is that the construction mafia have found their man in Minister Zigalala. The reality is that we have prime property belonging to DPWI being illegally occupied and being stripped naked under the watchful eye of this failed and incompetent minister. The sad reality is that we have a department that has been red flagged by the Auditor General, the Public Service Commission, and the Commission for Gender Equality because it has failed to offer safe spaces for victims of GBV and has equally failed to offer proper accommodation space for client departments to execute their service delivery mandate. The minister has been busy, but it has been a different kind of busy. He has crisscrossed the country and sat down with the media to assure everybody that arrests have been made and plans are underway to deal with the problem that is the construction mafia once and for all. Except he has failed to prove his claims of arrests made, and neither has he come up with measures to stop the rampage by the construction mafia. The truth is the minister is either unwilling or has no clue how to solve this festering crisis in the construction sector. South Africans deserve a DA-led national government that will take proactive steps in dealing with the construction mafia menace, as it is the case here in the city of Cape Town under Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis. The mayor launched a 24-hour hotline to report extortion-related crimes related to construction projects in the city. The hotline works on a reward basis to encourage residents to help authorities to tackle extortion. It is time to rid ourselves of the criminal syndicate that is the ANC. It is time to vote for the DA in 2024 in order to take back our country from these mafias. I thank you.
Honourable members, before I recognize you, honourable member, honourable members, and I would ask the Chief Whip of the DA to counsel a member. What he did now is not allowed. It's not allowed. I know the member is still new, but he's here to learn the rules. He must read the rules. He cannot introduce from the podium any form of element or publication that has not been authorized by the presiding officer, and I did not give permission to that. So ignorance is not an excuse for failing to understand the rules. It's wrong. The EFF.
Thank you, Chairperson. And thank you
for the honourable members.
Thank you for that reprimand because knowledge is power. The Chairperson, we are gathered again to debate on the budgetary review for the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. And through this report, it has become clear that the department does not have a clue what to do with their funds. The department found itself underspending with an amount of 243 million rand that could have been utilized fruitfully. Unfilled posts are still the norm of the day. Lack of manpower means lack of service delivery. No mandate will be fulfilled and accomplished. The department is still struggling with control of submission of invoices, which led to underspending of 50 million rand. Conditions not fulfilled led to a loss of 100 million rand. Non-delivery of assets audit left the department with a minus of 9 million rand. The department is still faced with unfinished disciplinary cases. The employment should be celebrated if we speak of permanent jobs with benefits and insourcing of EPWP beneficiaries. And then, Chairperson, the National Infrastructure Plan that is labeled NIP 2050 will never be realized as it will remain a plan on paper. What is the role of Infrastructure South Africa in dealing with infrastructure? We still wait for the correct response as the response changes depending on what is explained. 433 million rand transferred to provincial departments does not mean it served its purpose, but we cannot find any evidence. Not reaching targets is of concern. These are just some of the highlights mentioned, Chairperson. This is a clear indication that the department is in a lost cause. It is clear that to deal with infrastructure in South Africa is to establish a construction company that will deal with infrastructure and move away from tenders that only benefit the elite. It is time we focus on taking South Africa forward and stop milking the state dry. Minister,
Honourable
it is up to
Member,
you to push
your
the
time
government
is now
construction company
expired.
to save your department. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The IFP.
Honourable Speaker, the IFP notes with disappointment over the snail's pace of which the department is moving. If at all, to address the budgetary shortcoming despite the yearly calls to do so. It is concerning that the government property lies in runs while the department experienced an under expenditure of more than 243 million of its total allocation from the financial year. While we appreciate the department's effort in ensuring that it remains with the budget, we will be doing the disservice to the people of this country if we ignore that they fall short of the meeting of its own plans. We are alarmed by despite our own being highly skilled yet unemployment nation. The department has fallen to fill the critical position despite the endless promises to the job creation. Presently, one of the biggest issues facing this department is social unrest and invasion of projects by the construction mafia, which causes undue delay in the completion of dates and unnecessary overspending on infrastructure projects. While we commend the department for its transformation policies on paper, we have to emphasize that the policies without implementation is fruitless, and even the self-defeating experience. Thus, the target of this policy will remain just that, if not further, we will willing and complete professionals and techniques. As a party, we remain committed to the offering wisdom to the department of this constitutional effort. The IFP accept this report. I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you. The FF Plus.
Geagte voorsitter, ons moet die vraag vra, waar is infrastruktuur Suid-Afrika en waar is die departement vir openbare werke en infrastruktuur? Net soos met enige ander departement in hierdie regering, is daar geen uitsondering wanneer dit kom by die wansfunksionering van hierdie departement en sy entiteite nie. Ons hoor sedert 2019 dat daar 'n plan is om beleggers vanaf die buiteland te lok om in infrastruktuur Suid-Afrika te kom belê, om in ons infrastruktuur te kom belê. Die wonderlikste kongresse en berade word die president gehou, maar ons sien nooit een enkele sent van hierdie geld wat in die land inkom nie. En ons moet vir ons self die vraag vra hoekom. En die antwoord is baie duidelik. Dit is omrede Suid-Afrika nie stabiel genoeg is nie. Die antwoord hierop is omdat ons met 'n regering sit wat toelaat dat korrupsie en wanadministrasie hierdie land vernietig en absoluut niks daaraan doen om die situasie om te keer nie. Dit is die rede waarom beleggers nie in hierdie land gaan kom belê nie, want ons regering beskerm 'n klomp korrupte skelms. Stop looking at the so-called problems like the decentralization of government, international, provincial and municipal levels, and start cleaning up this government and this department, and then you will see a different picture. Start cleaning up your own mess. It is time to rebuild. It is time to send for ANC home. Thank you, Chairperson.
The ACDP. The UDM. ATM. Good. NFP.
Thank you, Chairperson. The National Freedom Party supports the report tabled here today and notes that this department spent 86% of its budget. And I think 4.74 billion was spent on the extended public works program.
Seems to me there's a problem with the connection
had
with
a
the
target
audio
of-
shaky, ma'am.
Can you hear me, sir?
I can hear you now again. There's been a break in your transmission.
Oh.
Couldn't hear you.
Sorry about that, sir. Yeah, while there was a target of 5 million jobs, the department did achieve job opportunities for just over 4 million. I was talking about the extended public works program, chairperson, where it's being exploited. There's a whole lot of corruption that goes on at municipalities. Now, 2.7 billion, chairperson, has been spent on maintenance on government buildings. And despite that, many of the government buildings are in a state of disrepair, particularly hospitals, clinics, and things of that nature. There appears to be something wrong with the IT system, chairperson, but I'll continue. There were 508 cases of fraud, corruption, theft, and things that have been reported since 2009. But our concern is there's only 16 of these cases are currently being investigated, chairperson. We also welcome the unqualified audit opinion that the department has received, but ask them to concentrate particularly on these fraud corruption cases that have not been dealt with. The NFP supports the report.
The AIC. Cope.
The AIC supports the report, Honorable.
Thank you. The Cope. PAC.
No statement from the PAC, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Al Jama. And the ANC.
Chairperson, members of the House, the ANC supports the budgetary review and recommendation report of the Portfolio Committee of Public Works and Infrastructure. Though it supports this report, it recognizes both the progress and challenges which require the attention of the department. The department is playing a critical role through Infrastructure South Africa to develop infrastructure as part of implementing the Economic Reconstruction and Recovery Plan. Steady progress has been made by the entities reporting to the department, while others are performing well. Corporate governance of the entities have improved, and there is always room for further improvement in financial controls. The department plays a critical role in programs and projects for the development of infrastructure and job creation through the EPWP, which has created nearly 1 million jobs over the framework. The role of PMTE is critical, and this entity
Honorable member, just give me an opportunity to address these members on the virtual platform. Honorable Deputy Minister Dapua Peters, will you switch off your microphone, please? Please continue, Honorable member.
Thank you, Chair. The role of the PMT is critical, and this entity and the property portfolio require constant improvement in maintenance as well as in revenue generation. Something that we have said as the portfolio committee, that this department has a potential to raise revenue. Portfolio committee is expecting the conclusion of the feasibility study for the small harbors of Port St. John's and Port Alfred, and for the construction to commence to enable microeconomic development in the areas for the benefit of the surrounding communities, especially in Eastern Cape. Underspending is an issue in relation to human resource, and the department has been improving in this regard, but not what we want. Report makes important observations and recommendations which must be implemented, and the committee will seek progress reports on this. The committee will engage in enhanced oversight over the work and programs of the department and its entities, as it plays a critical role in transformation process.
Honorable member, your time is now expired.
The ANC supports the BRRR. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections?
Please note the objection of the DF.
Please note the objection of the EFF.
And please note the objection of the FF plus.
Are there any further objections? No further objections. The report is agreed to. The secretary will read the third order.
Consideration of budgetary review and recommendations report of Portfolio Committee on Small Business Development.
I now recognize the Honorable Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Thank you very much, House Chair. I move that the report be adopted.
There's request for declaration of vote. The DA.
Thank you, Chair. We often talk about the challenges of running a small business, challenges like access to finance, government red tape, access to support programs, crime syndicates, and many more. But make no mistake about it, there is no more pressing issue for small business than the ANC government's inability to ensure a stable and sustainable energy supply. It should come as no surprise that yesterday we once again returned to stage 4 load shedding. The small business sector, which is the largest employer in the country, still faces the near insurmountable challenge of getting access to uninterrupted electricity, largely due to limited financial resources. There was, however, a very brief light in the small business development tunnel, because on the 18th of January this year, the Minister of Small Business Development, Stella Ndabeni-Abrams, announced the development of an energy relief package for small business, which was widely welcomed by industry. Yet, here we are, 10 months later. Despite the urgency and the critical nature of the energy crisis, no further information or progress on this relief package has been communicated, and no budget for it exists. It is becoming increasingly clear that the minister's promise was perhaps never a commitment, but rather an electioneering maneuver. Yet, more testament to the fact that the minister doesn't really care about small business, and the ANC, neither do they care about small business. The Democratic Alliance stands in solidarity with the millions of small business owners who are struggling to survive in this relentless energy crisis. The small business sector, pivotal to the South African economy, deserves more than vague promises and a lack of decisive leadership. They need support and they need commitment to energy security. The DA does not support this PLR.
The EFF.
Thank you, Chairperson. The EFF rejects the BRR with its budget cuts. Small businesses are suffering in townships and rural areas, more especially in Zululand, Nongoma municipality, and Abakulusi municipality, where the informal traders are forced to fill in IFP membership forms before they get the support of the municipalities. All small businesses, in particular informal traders of most rural municipalities in the Eastern Cape, KZN Northwest, and Vembe in Limpopo, have never benefited in any budget of small businesses from both CEDA and SEFA till to date. To cut budget, you are permanently putting small businesses in mostly disadvantaged situation. Women who are supposed to be empowered are not receiving enough financial support. The only thing that they are exposed to on a daily basis is the continuous harassment by the police. And we have also realized that the unemployment in the country is too high, yet women who can produce high quality clothes are not receiving any financial support from the department. Therefore, the EFF rejects this BRR.
Thank you. The IFP.
Next year.
Order, honorable members.
Thank you, Chair. The IFP is committed to fostering a thriving environment for all small and medium-sized enterprises, which is integral to the economic growth and prosperity we envision. Unfortunately, the Auditor General's report on the performance of the Department of Small Business Development and its entities raised concerns with material findings identified. A major concern is the DSPD's inability to meet 44% of its annual performance plan targets in the financial year 2022-23. The primary cause identified is the presence of vacancies in critical job categories. The committee's recommendation to expedite recruitment efforts to fill the vacant posts must receive critical attention. This will not only address the underperformance issue, but also contribute to the effective implementation of the TSPD's objectives. In terms of achievements over the medium-term strategic framework period, the report indicates that 33% of its targets were unachieved, which is deemed unacceptable as the department itself sets out its targets. The committee also draws attention to the decline in audit findings of the DSPD's agencies. It recommends swift action to monitor and assist agencies in implementing Auditor General's recommendations. Accountability of accounting authorities and board of directors for improving control is stressed, ensuring proper record keeping and accurate information accessible to support performance data. Honourable Speaker, Honourable Chair, we are highly concerned that the decline in departmental performance will give rise to greater difficulty for small businesses who need all the support from the government they can get,
Honourable Member, your
especially
time
in
is now
overcoming
expired.
obstacles and challenges. The IFP supports this report.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The FF Plus. Is the declaration from the FF Plus?
No declaration, Chief.
ECDP, UDM, ATM, HOOD, NFP, AIC.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, the National Freedom. NFP is here.
Please proceed.
Can you hear me, Chairperson? Yeah. Thank you very much. The National Freedom Party supports the report tabled here today. One of the matter of concern, your Chairperson, is while 2.5 billion was provided, only 1.7 billion in loans were distributed. Now that's an under expenditure which affects economic growth by limiting the amount of money that you're making available for small businesses. The other problem, of course, we have is we look at the breakdown of how this money was distributed, Chairperson. It's very concerning. And this is what it says: 2.09 billion was given to Black-owned businesses, 928 million to women-owned businesses, 500 disabilities. Now, the question is, what about the rest of the economies if such members of society, the other racial groups and things, if such a large percentage is only allocated to the Black communities? Whilst I do understand and appreciate there's high levels of inequality, but I think we need to encourage all people of all races, particularly in the country, to enter into small businesses. That's paramount to economic growth in the country. Now, I must thank the member from EFF for raising that, and that's absolutely correct. In the IFP-run municipalities, they only serve the IFP people and IFP members. And I'm glad that you've raised that, and you've mentioned some of those areas, and you're absolutely correct. Zululand District Municipality, Abakulusi, and those areas, this is where all the corruption is taking place. And how much more money you think is coming from all the tenders and corruption there as well. So that's one of the problems. My concern, person, is this: the Tiger brands and the informal spaza shops in the rural areas, which perhaps might have an effect on the sustainability of these smaller. And I think to a very large extent, we must keep them out of the rural areas.
Remember,
The
your
NFP
time is now
support you very much.
expired. There is a member on the platform, the Honorable Gabriel. I can't see the surname. He's continuously switching on his microphone. Can we just ask the NA table to please monitor when the discussions take place? Monitor your screens so that you can just disconnect that member, please. Please pay attention. Cope. PAC.
No declaration, sir.
Thank you. Al Jamaa. The ANC.
Thank you, Chair. The ANC endorsed the BRRR report. We acknowledge the work that's done by the department. Informal sector, especially the traders, play a very significant role in economic progress and job creation, contributing more than 6% to the GDP and a third of the total job creation. So it's important that we continue supporting SMMEs, informal traders, businesses. I think the department is actively working towards the implementation of the recommendations by the AG, especially prioritizing the filling of vacancies to improve its performance. Addressing the 33% shortfall of the MFTF targets is a top priority. We also want to commend the department for exceeding the targets of supporting cooperatives with more than 321 cooperatives supported, exceeding the target by 121. The ANC proposes that to deal with red tape, and we propose that we get a parliamentary ad hoc committee to reduce bureaucratic hurdles. We also commend the department for its commitment to settle supplier support within 30 days. The ANC therefore supports this BRRR report. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honourable members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections?
Please note the objection of the DA.
Please note the objection of the EFF.
Are there any further objections? No further objections agreed to. The Secretary will read the fourth order.
Consideration of budgetary review and recommendation report of Portfolio Committee on Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation on Vote 14 of Statistics South Africa.
I now recognize the Honourable Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Thanks, Chair. I move that the report be adopted. Thank you.
Thank you. There's a request for declaration of votes. The DA.
House Chairperson, on 16 November 2023, Statistics South Africa released its quarterly labour force survey, which indicated that the Western Cape's unemployment rate has dropped 4.3% year on year. Stats SA quarterly labour force survey further reveals that the employment rate in the province rose by 12.6% year on year, as 305,000 jobs were created between Q3 of 2022 and Q3 of 2023. Indeed, a good story to tell about the Western Cape and South Africa could be under a DA-led government. Under the DA, we reduce unemployment, poverty, and inequality within a short space of time. Half of South Africa's population lives in KwaZulu-Natal, in Gauteng, and Western Cape. The ANC has failed rural communities as more South Africans move to urban areas for better opportunities. The Western Cape has moved from being the 5th largest province in population in 1996 to being the 3rd largest in 2022. South Africa and the world trust the DA governance as investment and tourism flow under the DA. In July 2023, the city of Cape Town was again voted the best city in the world. We certainly govern better. The vacancy rate in the department is also too high at 19.4%, and this is the result of budget cuts as National Treasury runs out of money. Overall, what is clear from the census is the split screen in South Africans are presented of the ANC decline and a DA of hope. Next year, South Africans have to have the opportunity for change. Let us ensure that that next census speaks of progress under a DA government. I thank you.
The EFF. The EFF.
Thank you, House Chair. Let me start by commending the hard work of the Statistician General and his team.
Order, honourable members.
They're a group of hard-working professionals, and they really mean well. But Chairperson, I was actually shattered to discover that the Auditor General lamented the 808 million unauthorized expenditure by Status A in the year under review. Obviously, there'll be a long explanation to justify this, but Oxalai prescripts were violated. Fact. In addition, the Auditor General again raised a red flag for the 253 million contract awarded by States SA without following prescripts. It's actually quite an embarrassment for an institution of this importance to be making such elementary errors. Officials of the States SA attributed the unauthorized expenditure to various delays during their work in concluding the 2022 census, but damage was done. We trust that SCOPA will look into these matters. The performance of the admin function of States SA received the lowest rating of 38% but no one took accountability for such lackluster performance. The sad thing is that this is where top management resides. The report on employment equity figures was meaningless because whatever was reported was not benchmarked against targets which are supposed to be in their employment equity plan. So there was no objective way to assess whether their performance on employment equity was good or bad. On the census report, they use self-invented nomenclature. They talk about Black Africans, yet two prescripts, the Employment Equity Act and BE Act, are very clear that the generic term Black includes the entire spectrum of Africans, colored, and Indians. No such thing in law as Black African. The discussion was settled in 1998 when His Excellency President Mandela signed off on the Employment Equity Act. Chairperson, barring the issues raised here, we gradually support the PRR.
The IFP.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I thought the Honorable leader of the Chief Whip of the Opposition was crossing the floor and coming to the podium, but she went there.
No, I thought she was blocking your way.
Oh, you thought she was blocking my way. I need injury time, I think. Thank you, Honorable Chairperson and colleagues. You know, we realize that election is about 5 months away. And we realize that some members of some political parties, especially the one-man band parties, will come here and postulate about things and criticize other political parties. But let statistics speak for themselves. Let statistics speak for themselves. Look at the results of by-elections over the last few years in KwaZulu-Natal. Look at the number of municipalities that the IFP are in charge of in KwaZulu-Natal. Watch this space in 2024 in KZN, and you'll definitely need more seats for the IFP in this house if we are going to be sitting in this house. So the one-man band parties must not come here and criticize, but look in the mirror in Nongoma where they are holding the mayorship, exactly what is happening and not happening. But I don't want to enter into a debate with parties like that. But I want to say, Chair, over the years, we have come to associate words such as efficient, diligent, punctual, and quality with Statistics South Africa, as the entity always provides us with clear and understandable statistical reports. But what is of concern is the 19.4, 20% vacancy rate that exists within the department. In this department, we need quality officials and we need every post to be filled. Because can you imagine if they have to go wrong with issues like the CPI, which impacts on inflation and which impacts on interest rates? So we need to ensure that this department is fully staffed and that they can do the work that they are required to do. We will support this report because statistics have always done us well, and South Africa has done well in that regard. We had excellent SGs, and we hope that it continues and they continue to produce the kind of work that they do. We'll support this report. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The FF Plus.
Thank you, House Chair. Honourable House Chair, Stats SA is nearly 250 surveys on economic, population and social statistics are equally as important as the census data to provide a complete picture of the South African society and the economic drivers behind it. It is therefore extremely important that this entity is properly capacitated. The Auditor General's finding that compliance monitoring by senior management relating to expenditure management, procurement, contract management, and consequence management was not effective due to a lack of adequate oversight is concerning. This has led to, amongst others, irregular expenditure of 253 million rand incurred for a single contract that was awarded to a bidder who did not meet the muster of the tender process, and this seems to happen quite a lot in government, completely defying the supply chain management processes of the department. But once again, consequence management is lacking, as is the norm in state departments under the ANC government. The vacancy rate of 19.4% is equally concerning, as is the committee's observation with regards to employment equity targets. Agbare huisvoorsitter, die kalf is in die put. Statistiek Suid-Afrika is een van die belangrikste entiteite van die regering en moet behoorlik toegerus word. Aanstellings moet dringend gemaak word. Dis nie nou die tyd om poste vakant te hou vir gelyke indiensname teikens nie. Kundige en ervare personeel moet op meriete aangestel word, ongeag hulle ras of geslag, sodat die beste moontlike werk gelewer kan word. Wat die sensus 2022 betref, ten spyte van al sy uitdagings, is dit prysenswaardig dat die sensusopname in totaliteit op 'n elektroniese wyse geskied het. Dit is egter van uiterste belang dat Statistiek Suid-Afrika kennis neem van die wêreldwye tendens van mense wat nie meer aan massa meningsopnames wil deelneem nie. Dit beteken dat die wyse waarop sensusdata versamel word in die toekoms heroorweeg moet word. Statistiek Suid-Afrika se belang in die vooruitgang van ons land moet nooit gering geskat word nie. Dit moet behoorlik toegerus en oorsien word. Ek dank u.
Thank you. The ACDP. UDM.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Tina ingxaki yethu apha neState South Africa. Into yokuba one kule nto yokubalwa kwabantu le undercount about 30% izawuba yi-problem xa kufuneka ukuthi ku-estimatwe ku-allocatwe nee-resources zabantu for apha eMzantsi Afrika. House Chair, can I be protected, please? I-resources zoMzantsi Afrika. Okwesibini, enye into besiyithethile inye nesinengxaki nayo into yoba like most departments, i-vacancy rates that are very high, they make it difficult for departments to be able to discharge i-mandate yazo zenze what is expected of them. Okwesibini, into yoba without us being able to count people properly, abantu need to educate, especially during the census, kuba bakhona abantu, as we know, refusile ukuvumela abantu abangene babalwe ngaphakathi. Kufanele sithi abantu abangafuna ubalwa, it's either ufuna ubalwa kuba uyi-South African okanye ubone uba mawuthini. Sifake i-law enforcement, awuzungangeni sikubale kubalo allocate njani i-resources. UseMzantsi Afrika, awuzukwenza unotanda ucinga uba kukwakho. Uba ucinga kwakho phuma ngaphandle. The other issue is le 200 million rands ye-irregular expenditures, zinto esifuna zijongiwe kuzoba kwi-consequence management because zininzi entities ne-departments apha ku-government where this occurs, kungabonakala ukuthi ngobani are being held to account for it. But yona ndisokolisayo thina into bapha eWestern Cape athi umntu andithembanga kwa abantu bamnyama bazozoba lapha ndiyana bazawurobha babangangeni endlini. Ngoku abantu bezawukwazi uzi-identify properly ukuthi bazobala basebenzele urhulumente. Uba sinawuyenza loo nto sawuqheleka kakubi nawumane nilawula nje apha epalamente phaa ngaphandle nilawule ngala madlagushi masele.
All honorable members, the ATM, good, NFP, AIC, COPE, PAC, Al-Jamaa. Thank you. Thank you. The ANC.
Ke a leboga modulasetulo. A ke tsamaishe setšhaba sa Afrika Borwa ka kakaretso. Ke tsamaishe le ba letsogong la ka la ngele ba ba dumelanang le rena. Statistics South Africa has played a critical role in the development of South Africa by providing the empirical stats data, which has been a basic policy of planning and oversight. As a nation, we need to acknowledge the work done by the successful execution of Stats SA. Statistics South Africa release over 250 surveys on a yearly basis on employment, labor, and poverty, and also the socio-economic statistics. Such stats are aimed in providing evidence-based information to policymaking, the private sector, and academics. The entity continues to provide credible statistics for various sectors. We welcome the progress of the development of Stats SA Amendment Bill, which will enhance the data ecosystem. The amendment will also enable the entity to strengthen the measurement of performance and reporting indicators to produce quality stats within the Republic of South Africa. Such that we have achieved 93.6% of its, they've achieved 93.6% of its target set out in the annual performance plan of 2022-2023. House Chair, as the ANC, we support the BRRR of the Stats SA, and we want to acknowledge and welcome the support that we got from UDM, the EFF, even though they are saying partially, but we want to encourage other parties, especially the IFP that does not come to the portfolio, and also the other small seller.
Member, your time is now expired. Thank you.
Small seller, we welcome you come to the portfolio.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Honorable Members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections? There's no objections agreed to. The Secretary will read the fifth order.
Consideration of budgetary review and recommendation report of Portfolio Committee on Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation on Vote 9 of Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation and Prince South Africa.
I now recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Ke a leboga modulasetulo, ke itshisinya gore pegelo e e amogelwa. Ke a leboga.
Requests for declarations have been received. The DA.
House Chair, DPME is supposed to hold government itself accountable, and it has failed. It has failed to hold government accountable in the fight against crime. It has failed to hold government accountable in the fight against corruption. The very officials that looted the state are still roaming in the union buildings and drive around in their blue light brigades. The economic reconstruction and recovery plan aimed at restoring the economy post-COVID-19 seems to have been a tick boxing exercise that has failed. All the department has done is to observe and make recommendations without accountability, no appetite to govern. Taxpayers' money is wasted while the department looks on. It is ANC first before South Africans. I was shocked to hear when a minister stood up in this house and said that life post-COVID-19 would be worse without the ANC. The arrogance they exhibit while billions were stolen during COVID-19. Then there is Brand South Africa. The entity has resulted in a breakdown of trust from the board members to senior management. In 2019, Brand South Africa and Tourism South Africa were supposed to merge. Today, they're still in limbo, lip service with no implementation. They cannot fulfill their mandate in filling critical positions. Brand SA was not even in a position to promote South Africa during the 23 Rugby World Cup. When questioned, their frivolous response was that Rugby World Cup was not in their calendar plan. This leaves much to be desired. They, however, deemed it fit to go watch the game at a public expense. And where was the department in all of this? Nowhere to be seen as always. South Africans must vote for a DA-led government, as only the DA can improve the life of South Africa. I thank you.
The EFF.
Thank you, House Chair. Chairperson, this is a ministry of ongoing work in progress. We'll do it in the near future. We are working on it. During the deliberations in the Portfolio Committee, the EFF cautioned the Minister of DPME not to postpone things to the 7th administration as if it's guaranteed that she'll be there to finish whatever she failed to do in the 6th term. The Minister was reminded that her administration is a fixed term, which will soon end in May 2024, and it's not automatic that the current cabinet will continue unless elections are rigged. The EFF will come and redo the whole thing. The EFF queried the continued reference to an outdated and an obsolete document called the National Development Plan, which has to date failed dismally to meet all its economic targets and projections. The EFF pointed out the futility of referencing an obsolete document. How can you build on a cracked foundation? It is noteworthy to mention that the AG in her presentation during the session showed a color chart, green, orange, and red, that dashboard to indicate compliance to her recommendations. The EFF was shocked that for the entire portfolio under review, not a single entity implemented the recommendations of the AG. There was not a single green indicator for all 6 recommendations made. This is fact, not politicking. How can this department be entrusted with the responsibilities to performance monitor others when it is failing to monitor itself? The presentation by the DPME said absolutely nothing about the findings of the DPME in terms of the AG in terms of its work. The EFF expected a candid report about how each of the departments were performing. Instead, the DPME, just like its mandating political party, is busy with its own renewal. The EFF rejects this mediocrity. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The IFP.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. I want to agree with the Honorable Member from the EFF that to a large extent, this department is not brave enough to put out reports that would show the deficiencies of other government departments. I was there when this department was established. I was there when the legislation was passed, and it was through former President Jacob Zuma that this department came about because he felt it was necessary to monitor the work of all departments. But for a number of years in between, this department has been going nowhere slowly. We just hope that now with the new minister, there is a new breath of fresh air and she does her job as she is supposed to do, be independent and give truthful reports about departments. We speak of so many departments here that have not delivered the goods, that have been allocated budgets, but have not promoted efficient service delivery. And if this department, which resides in the presidency, cannot stand up and be counted and be honest about what they report, then we will continue to be going nowhere slowly. However, I think we need to commend the department for its 10th clean audit outcome in consecutive years. That's a good sign. But when we look at the NDP and our vision 2030, and we look at the sustainable development goals, to what extent is this department providing reports, either to the portfolio committee or to Parliament, as to how we are progressing in achieving these goals? We don't see these reports. And there's no point in having a vision 2030 and aligning yourself to sustainable development goals if this department cannot do adequate monitoring. Lastly, I would like to say, in monitoring and evaluating, what are the consequences for directors general and ministers who do not perform? Zero. If a minister is shifted, it's because of political reasons and not because of the fact that they are not performing. We will support the support. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The FF Plus.
Honorable House Chair, the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation is a very
Honorable Deputy Minister Dlomo, switch off your microphone. Please proceed, Honorable Member.
Thank you, House Chair. This department is apparently supposed to support the National Development Plan's objective of an accountable and transparent government with the key mandate of, amongst others, monitoring the performance of individual national and provincial government departments as well as municipalities, monitoring frontline service delivery, which doesn't exist, and carrying out evaluations. House Chair, if we should ask the general public now, here outside, what they think about the performance of national and provincial departments, and especially the performance of municipalities, I think we would find that the DPME fails miserably in giving effect to this key mandate. And the same goes for ensuring accountability and transparency in government. And I'm sure I don't even have to explain that statement to you. Why is it that the ANC government cannot ensure accountability in state departments? Is dit omdat die ANC self so swak voorbeeld stel, of is dit omdat alles half gedoen word onder die ANC se beheer en bestuur? Case in point, performance agreements for heads of departments of national and provincial government. These agreements have been signed in the hope that this will lead to better and proper oversight and better consequence management. But there are no performance agreements for acting DGs and HODs. These individuals are not required to complete and submit performance agreements and performance assessments as per the current guidelines. So there's no consequence management for departments such as the Department of Labour, for instance, with acting DGs and HODs, because they are not required to submit performance reports. How is this even allowed by the DPME? Dit is so 'n voor die hand liggende beginsel dat mens nie anders kan as om jou kop te skud in ongeloof voor hierdie halwe werk nie. Die afleiding dan is dat hierdie departement nutteloos is vir die Suid-Afrikaanse publiek, want hoewel hy glo 95% van sy teikens behaal het, is niks daarvan sigbaar vir die breër samelewing nie. Hierdie toewysing kan beslis beter bestee word op ander prioriteite. Maak hierdie departement toe. Ek dank u.
The ACDP, UDM, ATM, good, NFP, AIC, COPE, PAC,
No declaration, Chair.
Al-Jamaa, the ANC.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. First, let me deal with the misconception. I would have needed a full week to educate people about performance, because in South Africa, the ANC became the first democratic state to introduce accountability when Shoket Faki became the first Auditor General, when transformation ensured transparency. So the FF Plus must go and learn from what the ANC has done. South Africa is the most transparent government in the whole world. Secondly, it is very expeditious for Jimmy Manye to upfront want to deal with the national NDP plans 30-year review when actually the presentation is going to be made tomorrow. Therefore, the information he gave here is false because he still needs to go and read the document tonight. In terms of Director Generals, in South Africa, the strategic framework and the annual performance plans are predetermined by the performance agreements that Director Generals signs to inform their payment. Therefore, Honorable Chairperson, allow me to continue with my input. First and foremost, the African National Congress supports the BRRR report. The Department of Planning and Monitoring and Evaluations continue to play a critical role in the presidency through coordinating, planning, monitoring, and evaluation of government policy implementation. And the year under review, the entity has improved its performance, hence the unqualified report. I thank you. And since it has also been negative.
Honourable Member, your time is now expired. Thank you. Honourable Members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections?
Please note the objection of the DA.
Are there any further objections?
Please note the objection of the FF Plus, Chair.
Are there any further objections?
Yes, Chair, please note the objection of the EFF.
Thank you. Are there any further objections? No further objections. The report is agreed to. The Secretary will read the sixth order.
Consideration of report of Portfolio Committee on Sport, Arts and Culture, performance of National Department and entities.
I now recognize the Honorable Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
Ke a leboga modulasetulo, ke sisinya hore tlaleho e amogelwe. Ke a leboga.
There's request for declarations. I now recognize the DA.
Thank you, House Chair. Thank you, House Chair.
Order, honorable members. Honorable Papu, we want to continue with the session. Order, Honorable Kalipi, you'll get your opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Please
very much.
continue.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to congratulate Mamelodi Sundowns ladies for winning their second CAF Women's Champions League title in the 3 years. The department has committed itself to have a bill, yes, sports bill for women. And to date, we don't know exactly what is happening with the sports bill. Minister, can you tell us the time frame to implement or to start afresh the bill, yes, sports? There's a lack of leadership within the department. We don't have AG, we don't have a DG, we have acting DG, we have Hollywood actors with department. Chairperson, there's a lack of leadership above all to e-boxing South Africa. There are no specific strategy intervention to implement the departmental targets for us to achieve sports federation targets, especially for this financial year. Various federation did not achieve their targets. Various federation did not even receive their funding in time. For an example, gymnastic, they only received their funding in February, 2 months before their financial year end. It's shocking to see that Minister Usasemusha Zizigodwa good enough. Yenza okubalulekile, otherwise you'll get a yellow card. Minister, we call upon you to put Boxing South Africa under administration. Why we're saying that? Because they failed to account to the portfolio committee. They even misled, they lied to portfolio committee. They don't account, even they don't implement recommendations, the AG. We call upon the minister to put them under administration. One of the things that we wanted to find out, in fact, not to finding out, we want to be part of the selection criteria for board members of all entities, because the minister has a way to say, these are the entities that we must approve. One of the things that we wanted to do, we wanted to know the white paper, when are they going to implement it? Because it's so important to implement the white paper.
Honorable member, your time has now expired. Thank you.
Thank you.
The EFF.
Thank you, House Chair. The EFF welcomes the report with the reservations. As what verbally presented to the Portfolio Committee on Sports, Arts and Culture, none of us as members of the Portfolio Committee can vouch for it as truthful. This is logically due to the fact that the Portfolio Committee has constantly been denied the opportunity to do site visits that are critical to oversight role. It therefore logically explains why the sector has been left behind all the time. Because if its portfolio committee can be treated with such insignificance, it clearly displays that there is no care about the sector. This is an indictment on our hard-earned constitutional democracy, whereby reports are adopted by default due to majority power, a paradox that we as EFF do not subscribe to. The DSEC has reported overachievements on targets, yet the picture on the ground speaks the contrary. Thus, we witness the famous but synonymous with paupers' deaths. As EFF, we stand the course for radical change that will produce real job opportunities, equitable ownership, fair compensation for the use of creative works against the proposed fair use. The underspending of budget cannot be a permanent feature in the department and its institutions. It is indespicable to observe how the Auditor General and the Public Protector adverse findings are ignored constantly. Issue of consequential management is not there. Issue of enforcement of the findings and the remedial actions of the Public Protector or the Chapter 9 institutions are often ignored. These can't be the permanent features in our democracy. In general, EFF considers the report incomplete without empirical evidence guaranteed by
Honorable
fact
member, your
basis.
time is now
And as such,
expired. Thank you.
EFF welcomes the report with reservations.
The IFP. Order, honorable members.
Mhlonishwa Sihlalo,
Order, honorable members.
Mhlonishwa Sihlalo, kunzima ukuthi iyashimalifa alikabe sabona na ukuthi lihamba kanjani ngoba mawubheka umhlonishwa uSheki unongoma uphethwe imeya yakhona. Manje uyabona ukuthi ihashi liyayifela akukho nkinga. Honorable Chairperson, this is our department that only looms in the shadow that, but one is not needed with his compliance, efficiency, and sheer incompetence. despite being the moment task of ensuring harmonious and prosperous nation that thrives its diversity. The department is failing dismally as instability and inequality continue to dig their claws deeper and deeper into our social makeup. A cycle that we'll all have a duty to break and do away with. Honorable Chairperson, the department failed to utilize the budget that has been allocated to it as a clear indication that it does not understand the private role in paying our nation, but not importantly, it is failing to deliver quality services to the people. The IFP would like to emphasize that these challenges continue to haunt the department for as long as it does not initiate to fully implement the recommendation of its disposal. A string of vacant post templates over its effort to achieve the department plans an objective is set itself to fail. The IFP to support the report.
Thank you. The FF Plus.
Thank you, House Chair. House Chair, I won't be able to cover all the aspects of this report in the time allocated to me. There are many, many important points to be made, but I will highlight only two. House Chair, if you could just please protect me. The South African Heritage Resource Agency is responsible for the identification, conservation, protection and promotion of South Africa's heritage resources for the greater good of our society and humanity. And though it has finalized the Heritage Resources Coordination Plan, it has done little to protect existing heritage sites and symbols, which are crumbling before our very eyes all over the country. Recently, the Matlosana local municipality merely repurposed the Great Trek monument without following any sort of protocol. The FF Plus and FAK cultural organization addressed this issue and it is being rectified, but not a word has been spoken by the South African Heritage Resources Agency. This is but one example. Honorable House Chair, there are few moments as overwhelming as singing the national anthem before the kickoff of the Rugby World Cup final game, let alone seeing the box lifting the Webb Ellis Cup under our national flag and colors. However, this was very nearly not possible during this year's World Cup. Why? Because the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture failed to give effect to elementary statutory amendments to ensure that South Africa is in line with the World Anti-Doping Agency's anti-doping code, something that this department has known about for nearly 3 years. I would say that this constitutes very poor performance indeed. There are many instances where the Department of Sport, Arts and Culture and its entities' performance have left little to be desired. Al word krediet gegee waar dit toekom, bly hierdie departement oorbodig en onnodig. Kultuurgemeenskappe moet die geleentheid gegee word om hul eie kultuur en erfenis te bestuur. Boonop hoort regeringsinmenging hoegenaamd nie in sport nie, veral nie wanneer dit oor die boeg van 'n eie gewin en met die oogmerk om te verdeel afgedwing word nie. Bevry ons erfenis en sportnalatenskap van regeringsinmenging. Bevry ons van die ANC ten einde dit wat nog oor is te red. Ek dankie.
The ACDP. UDM, ATM, UDM.
Thank you, House Chair. Ndifuna nje undixela indaba zenu niyakhetha. Nicinga into yoba esport zii-Springboks sibe nisingcolela nisifundeke lapha ngale ndebele fele yini. Nansi cricket ibingene kwi-semi-final benike nagilana nabenithenga izikipa apha. Hayi, naba abantwana bethu bebehambe kwi-competition beyocheba igusha. Anikhani bahoye. Ibanyana manje ndixela indaba zenu. Ndidibana noDesiree Ellis e-airport enantsikeni OR Tambo. Uphethe indebe le yayiwiniwe ye-AFCON. Uzifumbathele ngokwakhe including ne-award ziyamsinda. Le ndebe ayiphetheyo phofu ingathi sisitya sovukusela izinja. Akahambi nabantu bakwaSAFA bamkhaphe kufuneka yena umuntu ongumama esindiwe goba umqolo ephethe. No one recognized uDesiree Ellis at the airport because none of you acknowledge ezinye sporting codes. Nicinga uba thina sihleli le nto le ndebe lefele yale rugby yenu ningaye eStellenbosch inoyoya njena. Okwesibini nabo Bhavuma bebebuya phana after bebethwe kwi-semi-finals beniphi no-president. Khange inhliziyo icishe yama. Abantu be-coordinator nini uqala ningamasela nje amane baleke emveni kwe-fast zabelungu apha.
Order, honorable members.
Now lesela
Inhliziyo yami
Order.
icishe yama.
Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable Papu.
Chair of the House.
Order, honorable members.
I can accept, the member just made a comment about members of this House, and there was a ruling, I think it was made by you, calling members of this House thieves. I don't have a problem with a political difference, but to call members of this House thieves, it's not even in line with the rules.
Yes, now, honorable member, we had a difficulty. We had a difficulty with the interpretation service. It went off for a while. We'll look at the Hansard and I'll make a ruling. Order, honorable members, order. You sound now as excited as when the Springboks won the World Cup. So just calm down, calm down. Honorable Kalipi?
Chair, I can interpret. Inhliziyo
No,
yami
I
icishe
don't ask you to
yama.
interpret. Please take your seat. Don't abuse your freedom of speech in the House, honorable member. Don't abuse the rules. You're not an interpreter here. The NFP, AIC, COPE, PAC, Al-Jamaa, the ANC.
Thank you, House Chair. Greetings to all South Africans. House Chair, the African National Congress moved for the adoption of the report on the performance of the National Department of Sport, Arts and Culture and its entities. The committee had a rigorous deliberation on the performance of the entities presented to them. Furthermore, considering the department's annual report and AG's report, we have completed confidence that the recommendation will be implemented with success. The committee deliberations in the portfolio committee meetings highlighted the key issues that are critical in improving the entities. While they pointed out areas that need improvement, they also appreciated the efforts made by the entities in specific pivotal areas of their mandate. This constructive feedback will help the entities focus on the areas that need improvement and build on their strength, leading to better performance. We are aware of the challenges of the department entities and do not disregard them. The challenges of leadership, Mr. Mhlongo, we know them as we sit there, that it is a challenge, but we cannot disregard them. As a committee, the issues of vacancies, also we regard them as challenges. That's why we're saying as the portfolio committee and as the African National Congress that they must implement or they must fill the vacancies. And also as the African National Congress House Chair, we recommend that the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture consider each issue raised in the report. We believe it is important to consider a report despite reservation from the DA and the EFF. So I don't know why are they deliberating on the report, because they reserve their own right not to speak on this report, who were part of the committee. But when we were busy with the debate, they were busy speaking and making some input on that report. Honorable Chairperson.
Honorable member, your time has expired. Thank you.
Chairperson, we support the report. Thank you, Chair.
Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable members, before I move on, Honorable Kwankwa, you used the word amasela, which has been ruled out of order in the past. Did you refer to any members in the House when you used the word?
No, I did not, but if the shoe fits, they can wear it.
No, honorable member, then you must withdraw that remark.
No, but
No, you must withdraw the remark.
what should I withdraw the shoe?
You withdraw the remark. You now want to justify what you said.
No, but
And you equate it to members. Withdraw the remark
you
or
are
leave the
not-
House.
You are not going to intimidate.
Then
me.
you leave the House, please.
I'm not going to leave the house until I.
Sergeant at Arms, will you ask the member to leave the House, please?
Yeah, but why am I being bullied? What am I withdrawing?
Sergeant at Arms, ask the member to leave the House, please.
You are making
He's clearly defying what I'm telling him to
What are
do.
you saying?
And he's justifying what he
But
said.
I'm asking you a question.
Please
What do you want
leave
me
the
to
House.
withdraw?
Leave the House.
Hlala nale endlini ngapha
Just leave the
sanga.
House.
Must.
Order, honorable members. Order. Honorable members, you see, you sit here and you sit and joke with the members at the podium, and then insults are thrown. and then you rise on points of order. You must conduct the debate in a way that's consistent with the rules of the House. And as far as possible, while you can interject, don't throw insults or accept things that is not consistent with the rules of the House. I'll make a ruling and I'll ask anyone to leave without any fear or favor. On what do you want to rise, honorable member?
No, Chair, I want to appreciate what you are saying, but it shouldn't be selective because.
Honorable member,
members
take your
of
seat.
ANC,
Take your
they
seat.
do say the same
Honorable
words
member, take your
to
seat.
us. They do.
Honorable member, take your seat. Take your seat. Honorable members, I now put the report. Are there any objections? Are there any objections?
Chair, please.
There's
note
an
the
objection from the DA. Are there any further objections?
Please note the objection of the FF plus.
The
Chair.
FF plus. Order, honorable members. Are there any further objections? No further objections. The report is agreed to. Honorable Tembekwayo. The secretary will read the seventh order.
Sorry, Chair, you can record the objection of EFF.
Honorable members and the whips of the ANC here in front, we're not here to make jokes, please. Please. Honorable Deputy Chief Whip and the House Whip, will you please call the whips next to you to order? The secretary will read the seventh order.
Consideration of budgetary review and recommendation report of Portfolio Committee on Basic Education on performance of Department of Basic Education for 2022-2023 financial year.
I now recognize the Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
House Chair, we move that the report be adopted.
There's request of declaration, the DA.
Chairperson, the Auditor General's report shows that the department has failed to learn lessons from the past years. 81% of grade 4s can't read for meaning in any language. The Deputy Minister tried to justify this by saying, we are failing because we're measuring ourselves against the best in the world. Well, you're supposed to. Teachers can't read. They fail tests for the subjects that they teach, all while the ANC-aligned SATU protects the mediocre teachers and in doing so destroys the poorest children's education. Thousands of learners are still subjected to pit toilets and overcrowded classrooms with dangerous infrastructure. Most schools don't have libraries, labs, or Wi-Fi. The ANC government has literally turned schools into graveyards. The ANC has failed to build quality schools in 30 years, hence they are targeting schools that still function instead of fixing the 20,000 broken schools, because they have sleepless nights when they have not broken something that works. 3.4 million youth are not in education, employment, or skills training. 7 in 10 young people are unemployed because the ANC government chose to focus on quantity over quality outcomes. Young people need an education that will give them skills to participate in the economy, not your platitude on decolonization. Fellow South Africans, your child has double the chance of being able to read for meaning in the Western Cape than anywhere in South Africa. Our schools don't have pit toilets. We build quality schools in 65 days. Schools have Wi-Fi and quality teaching is monitored by the Independent School Evaluation Authority so that your child get the best education. We focus on quality outcomes and not quantity. Let's fire the failing Minister Mochecha and end the ANC's oppression in 2024. Vote for the DA to bring the Western Cape's excellence to your child's future. The DA does not support this report. I thank you.
The EFF. Order, honorable members.
House Chair, thank you. Chairperson, the EFF rejects the report. Year after year, our schooling system is facing huge problems in relation to the readiness of the school system to create a conducive environment for teaching and learning. To this day, overcrowding is a major issue. Many learners in townships and rural schools are packed in classrooms like sardines, making it impossible for teachers to pay attention to the learning needs of each child. Many of these schools did not have sufficient learner support materials, such as textbook, textbooks and other enablers such as laboratories for science. It reminds me of my days when I was at school imagining what a laboratory is like. We also know that the lack of sufficient school security to guard and protect learners and the schools from vandalism, especially black schools. Had all these concerns been addressed by the department, we would not have a situation where many schools were touched and destroyed by NC-connected tenderpreneurs who hope to be given tender to refurbish the same schools. Had the department paid attention to what EFF had always advocated for, that all schools across the country must have the same minimum requirements to allow for the same quality of education, we would not be where we are today. The past few years have exposed the department as essentially not caring about the education of Black children. Selling of alcohol at schools proposed by the Bella Bill is one of those that shows that they don't care about Black people, and that is targeted to Black schools. Black children are still left behind when compared to schools that cater for predominantly white children that have all necessary infrastructure to ensure the learning is conducive. Therefore, as EFF, we reject this report as it comes way too late and offers no solution to problems faced by
Member,
our
your time
schools
is now
in
expired.
Limpopo and across the country. We reject the report.
The IFP.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson. The mismanagement of funds within the Department of Education has significant implications affecting both audit findings outlined in the report and raising serious concerns about the proposed budget cuts, as outlined by the Minister of Finance during the medium-term budget statement. The audit findings in the report reveal a distressing reality within the department, material irregularities stemming from the mismanagement of funds, issues such as non-compliance, fraud, theft, or misuse of public funds are disgraceful, especially given the education sector decline in South Africa. The report contains serious recommendations to strengthen our education system against corrosive efforts of misappropriation of resources. The IFP has long advocated for enhanced quality assurance, rigorous internal audit reviews, and robust consequence management to address these issues. The impact of financial mismanagement extends beyond audit findings, influencing budgetary decisions that shape the future of education in our country. Mismanagement of funds within the Department of Education leads to financial strain, necessitating cost-containing measures. The proposed budget cuts outlined in the medium-term budget policy statement become a painful consequence of this management, forcing the government to reduce spending and repay debts. Our education system, as a result of mismanagement by the government, has faced cuts to essential programs and initiatives. Vital programs such as the Life Skills Grant and Maths, Science, and Technology Grant are compounded by the mismanagement of funds. The result of mismanagement means that our people and innocent children are facing service delivery failures. The reduction of the education infrastructure grant, crucial for our schools' physical foundations, is particularly alarming as in considerate neglect of our people's needs. In conclusion, addressing the mismanagement is not only fiscal imperative, but a moral obligation of our nation's youth. I thank you, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The FF Plus.
Agbare huisvoorsitter, die sogenaamde BRRR-proses word vanjaar deur twee sake oorskadu: die Bella-bil en besnoeiings wat met die tussentydse begroting aangekondig is. Die Bella-bil beplan om onderwys grondliggend te verander, te transformeer in ANC speak. Die 1996 kompromis dat die staat onderwys inhoud bepaal en die gemeenskapskole bestuur word verbreek. Die staat wil albei rolle vervul. As rede word aangevoer dat kinders toegang tot skole geweier word om bevoordiging te handhaaf. Die VF+ het derentyd daarop gewys dat die probleem nie lê by fiktiewe leë oudmodel C skole nie, maar by die staat wat versuim om skole te bou. Maar nee, die Bellable sal die probleem oplos deur skole wat hulle self goed bestuur van daardie reg te ontneem. Nou, terwyl Afrikaanse skole vol is, terwyl kinders in landelike gebiede in oorvol klasse skool gaan en pittoilette steeds algemeen voorkom, word infrastruktuurbesteding besnoei. Terwyl die bevolking groei, maar die ekonomie nie, is dit die volgende geslag wat die spit afbyt. Die huidige ANC-regering wat nie die ekonomie kan bestuur nie en wat nie geld het om skole te bou nie, beteken dat die volgende geslag se regering van onderwysgeleenthede ontneem word. Die siekte en die medisyne hou nie verband nie. Die VF+ verwerp hierdie verslag.
The ACDP, the UDM, ATM, GOOD, NFP, AIC, COPE, PAC, Al-Jama, the ANC.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. The Department of Basic Education is entrusted with a complex mandate of a vast education system which is confronted by various objective and subjective factors. Providing quality education and improving learning outcomes has been a focus of the department for the year under review. The department continues to focus on infrastructure development and maintains to ensure teaching and learning takes place in a conducive environment. The department supports students to pursue teaching through the Funza Lushaka bursary, which ensures there's a pipeline of educators. With an increased population and high migration pattern, particularly in an urban economic hubs, the department is confronted with a moving target of various services and support required for quality teaching and learning. We also welcome the progress of curriculum recovery after the disruption of COVID-19. The resilience of our learners and teachers will enhance the reduction of learning losses. We take cognizance of the work undertaken by the department to develop plans and systems to improve early childhood development, which is primarily improve education outcomes despite a major backlog in the ECD landscape. Through prioritization of resources for ECDs, access will increase. We welcome the coding and robotics progress, which is critical preparing learners for the changing world. As the ANC, we are concerned about the level of irregular expenditure in provinces related to infrastructure projects. Contract management and consequences for irregular expenditure should be a matter of agency. As the African National Congress, we support the BRRR. Thank you.
Honourable members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections?
Please note the objection of the DA.
Note the objection of Freedom from Plus.
Please note the objection of the EFF.
With those objections, the report is agreed to. The Secretary will read the 8th order.
Consideration of budgetary review and recommendation report of Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services on Office of the Chief Justice.
I now recognize the Honourable Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
House Chair, I move that the report be adopted.
There's request for declarations. The DA.
House Chair, the Office of the Chief Justice was set up a decade ago as an interim measure to give some effect to operational and institutional independence of the judiciary, while the final court administration model was to be decided on. Our judiciary has always been very clear on their view on the matter, namely that to ensure true independence for the judiciary, it should be allowed to operate separately from the executive arm of the state. The manner in which the executive has since then, both during the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th Parliament, failed and refused to really deal with the issue is shameful. Minister Lamola, even if he was at first the embodiment of the renewed hope in 2019 that the ANC could still produce fresh talent and efficiency was quickly molded into a typical ANC minister, always busy achieving very little. He is now the embodiment of the lost hope that characterized this ANC government. In respect of this matter, he needed 5 years to be briefed on the issue, to embark on new research of the topic, and for the last 2 years for the matter to again be parked at cabinet level, where, of course, all sensible ideas go to die. In the meantime, this government department, the Office of the Chief Justice, has also not done the judiciary any favors. The way in which it was not able to prevent some of its senior officials from seemingly positioning themselves to benefit from the contractual award for the rollout of online court systems, and the way in which it obfuscated at every instance it had to be transparent and accountable on the issue, has possibly given the executive some new arguments in support of its reluctance to let go of control of the budget of our courts. A very sad state of affairs. The DA will not support the BRRR. Thank you.
The EFF. The EFF.
Chairperson, I'll check her. She's supposed to do it online.
Okay, let's proceed. In the meantime, the IFP.
Chairperson, I'm here, Chairperson. Apology.
No, we'll have the IFP now, and then you will follow after that.
Okay.
The IFP.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. You caught me a bit off guard there. The IFP continues to have serious concerns surrounding the expenditure of the budget by the Office of the Chief Justice, particularly the issue of irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure. While commendable progress has been made in resolving these issues during the current financial year, it remains an area that requires additional corrective action. We've always maintained as the IFP, Honorable Chairperson, that if we say that the Constitution provides for the independence of the judiciary as an arm of government, then they should have a budget which they maintain and control. This budget still falls within the Department of Justice, and hopefully in the 7th Parliament, with a new government and a breath of fresh air, we'll be able to change that around and give the OCG the independence that it requires. I would also like to draw attention to vacancies and the underspending in filling vacant posts in senior management and critical occupations. Now, I'm glad that the committee has suggested that by 31st of January 2024, OCJ should come up with a report, and we await that. Emphasis must also be placed upon the importance of court modernization and meeting targets for the rollout and training of court officials in the system. To this extent, Honorable Chairperson, it is quite disturbing. You know, we all have respect for the judiciary, but it's quite disturbing to know that as we speak, a senior magistrate who headed KwaZulu-Natal has been suspended and is facing charges for selling acting magistrate posts. Just like what's happening in education and everywhere else, you have to pay to be a teacher and pay to be a principal. This is what this particular magistrate is facing charges of. And I think the Office of the Chief Justice has got to really look at the question of acting posts at all levels of the judiciary. We will support this report because we believe the judiciary plays a very, very important role in the South African situation.
Thank you, Honorable Member. We'll go back to the EFF.
Chairperson, over the years, the EFF has consistently supported the Office of the Chief Justice and to safeguard its independence.
Order, honorable members. Honorable
We
Chair.
did because we were convinced then, as we still are, that the independence of the judiciary is an indispensable component of the functional democracy. The Office of the Chief Justice was made a standalone department largely to emphasize the independence of the judiciary. This office and the head of the office, the Chief Justice himself, have a responsibility not only for the proper function of the judiciary, but to keep the integrity of the judiciary functioning in this country. One of the means in which this can be done is for judges to speak through their judgments and not to be obsessed with cameras and malign political statements. Unfortunately, the current Chief Justice seems not to know whether he wants to be a judge or a politician. It is too easy for the Chief Justice to make politically charged statements whenever he gets an opportunity. Before his appointment, the Chief Justice was also said to be meeting politicians. After his appointment, he commented on the politician's opinion. Since he completed his state capture report, the Chief Justice has been going around with making political statements and saying the former president the NPA must charge the former president. What happens then when this matter comes before the Constitutional Court? What will he do? There is a backlog of around 306 cases with the current court roll of 756. Instead of focusing on that, the Chief Justice is busy politicking. Currently, even the underspending of 160 million. We reject this report and will continue doing so for as long as Comrade Zondo is still the Chief Justice.
The FF Plus.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Honorable member, will you just take a seat? There's a hand. I want to hear what the member has to say.
No, thank you, Honorable Chairperson. I'm rising on Rule 88. The member was on the podium, really dealt unfairly with the Chief Justice. I think that knows very well that the people who are occupying the judges, they cannot be castigated here. Thank you.
No, honorable members, we are busy dealing with the budget of the Office of the Chief Justice, but Rule 88. And I want to read it to the honorable members. It deals on reflections upon judges and certain other holders of public office, and that no member may reflect upon the competence or integrity of a judge of a superior court, the holder of a public office in a state institution supporting constitutional democracy, referred to in Section 194 of the Constitution, or any other holder of an office whose removal from office is dependent upon a decision of this House, except upon a separate substantive motion in the House, presenting clearly formulated and properly substantiated charges which, if true, would be in the opinion of the Speaker, prima facie warrant for such a decision. We will then formally communicate with the honorable member. It's quite clear it is a reflection on the incumbent Chief Justice, so that such a substantiated motion is presented to the House, failing which the Speaker may decide on the appropriate action to be taken. Thank you very much. The FF Plus.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Order, honorable members.
The Office of the Chief Justice plays a critical role in the judiciary of South Africa as a fully fledged department on its own. Although the department's reports on overall vacancy rates of 10%, the vacancy rate in senior management is much higher than the norm at 12.8%, which jeopardizes the role of critical officials. The rollout of the court online project to further superior courts has once again been delayed from last year, and the lack of space storing court files has still not been resolved, and the negative effect of load shedding on court procedures has still not been addressed. Voorsitter, daar is geen merkbare verbetering in die departement sedert die lewering van begrotingshersieningsverslag van 2022. Inteendeel, eerder tekens van agteruitgaan, en daarom kan die VF+ die verslag vir die huis nie steun nie. Dankie, voorsitter.
The ACDP, UDM, ATM, GOOD, NFP, AIC, COPE, PAC, Al-Jamaa, and the ANC.
Thank you, Chairperson. The African National Congress supports the BRRR of the Office of the Chief Justice. This budget vote on the Office of the Chief Justice is a reflection of the ANC's commitment to an independent judiciary, support for the rule of law, the doctrine of separation of powers, and the administration of justice. An independent judiciary is a fundamental element of democracy. People are the bedrock of our democracy. Institutions like the judiciary, which wield public power, are at their service. The judiciary is part of the transformation enterprise and the democratic project to make our country reflect the text and living spirit of our constitution. As the ANC, we reiterate our support for it. The OCJ improved its audit outcome in the 2022-23 financial year, achieving an unqualified audit opinion with no material findings, no fruitless and wasteful or unauthorized expenditure was incurred in 22-23. The OCJ achieved 77.2% of its annual targets. These efforts are welcomed. We also welcome the increase in employment of women in senior management, despite not meeting the target of 50%. We note that the OCJ has not been able to achieve its employment targets for persons with disabilities. We will, however, continue to monitor progress. We appreciate all the efforts of the OCJ in dispensing justice and ensuring a more equitable society. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable members, are there any objections to the adoption of this report, the DA?
Chairperson,
Yes.
please note the objection of the DA.
Noted.
Please note the objection of the EFF.
Thank you.
There's
Chair,
no
the
rule
objection
88
of
here.
the EFF plus.
The FF plus. And with those objections, the report is agreed to. The Secretary will read the last order of the day.
Consideration of budgetary review and recommendation report of Portfolio Committee on Justice and Correctional Services on Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, National Prosecuting Authority, Information Regulator, Legal Aid South Africa, Special Investigating Unit, South African Human Rights Commission, and Public Protector.
I now recognize the Honourable Chief Whip of the Majority Party.
House Chair, I move that the report be adopted.
There's request for declarations of vote. The DA.
As Chair, the Department of Justice has struggled during the last 5 years to properly perform its functions. While its latest annual report suggests that its performance has improved during the 22-23 financial year, the reality is that it has not fully recovered from some disasters it could have prevented. It is also quite clear that what is claimed to be an improved performance was achieved primarily on the back of a decision by the department to lower its own performance targets. In respect of all matters depending on technology, the Department of Justice is a very poor performer. The past year has yet again seen very little progress in the development of the integrated criminal justice system. Court recording technology and audiovisual court services continue to contribute to ever-shrinking numbers of hours during which our courts sit. Technology as basic as emails and outbound phone services are often out of service, and to put the cherry on top, the department has not yet fully recovered from the ransomware attack that froze online and electronic systems 3 years ago. The NPA similarly continues to struggle to improve its performance, specifically when one considers the reality that public confidence in its ability will only improve if and when the prosecution of a good number of high-profile state capture corruption cases results in convictions. In the midst of these performances, issues Vote 25 has not escaped the negative impact all departments are now confronted with as a result of more than a decade of maladministration, inefficiency, waste, corruption, and the loss of investor confidence caused by the fact that our country is not winning the fight against serious corruption and organized crime. A vicious self-reinforcing cycle which does not forebode anything
Honourable Member, your time
for
is
the
now
crime justice
expired.
system or our country. Thank you.
The EFF.
Chairperson, the EFF rejects the budgetary review of the department. The backlog in the district court is 26,965 at the regional cost 24,888. And the audit outcomes for the 9 audits within the portfolio have regressed over the administration term. The SIU has the budget of around 934 million, and it's owed up to 1.8 billion. And the SIU is also doing a number of work or redoing a number of work which the public protector has been doing, and the EFF will look into the mandate of the SIU. The Master's Office is also in disarray because there's lots of complaint about delays. The South African Human Rights Commission has been stagnant with an unqualified opinion for the past 4 years. The fact that the institution is underfunded is not an excuse. Yes, 212 million is very minimal, but they failed to spend, they've underspent with 8.6 million. The department's failure to properly resource.
Honorable Minister Chukunga, switch off your microphone.
There have
Minister
been
Chukunga, please switch off your microphone. Please proceed, Honorable Member.
The department's failure to properly resource the land claims court is concerning the building of the court itself is a disaster waiting to happen. They do not know how many cases have been brought before the court over the past 5 years. And on legal aid, the institution is understaffed. Lawyers are overworked, making it impossible for them to pay attention to cases. On NPA, the incapacity to prosecute complex cases or commercial crimes such as Steinhoff cannot move on pala because the institution has become a tool in the hands of the politicians. By allowing ABB to escape prosecution as well, through a settlement of 2.5 billion, this sends a dangerous message that companies can engage in unlawful conduct without facing consequences. On the public protector, the perception that she is a president protector will be difficult to shake concerning her role in the Pala matter.
Remember, your time is now expired.
Thank you, Chairperson.
The IFP. Order, the IFP.
Thank you, Honorable House Chair.
Order, Honorable
There are some
Nkalipi.
concerning
Order.
issues regarding the country's current state of justice. The SIU, which had previously achieved a clean audit outcome, has now regressed to a qualified audit or opinion due to material misstatements.
Order,
on
honorable
revenue
members.
And cash flows. There must
Honorable
be
Nkalipi,
greater
you're not on the
accountability.
floor. There's an honorable member at the podium. No. Restrain yourself, honorable member. Stay calm. Continue, honorable member.
There must be greater accountability and responsibility from accounting officers to rectify such improper financial processes and ensure proper financial management. As highlighted by the Auditor General, the Human Rights Commission continued irregular expenditure without adequate consequence management. This is a matter of grave concern. It is alarming that in many cases, the AG has disputed the program indicators by the Human Rights Commission, indicating a lack of transparency and adherence to proper procedures. Regarding our courts, it is evident that officials working in the lower courts still require adequate ICT resources and training. Such logistical and ICT inadequacies only further burden the ongoing persistent backlogs and delays in justice delivery. The slow progress in the department's modernization and digitalization initiatives hinders the delivery of justice. As the famous saying still goes, quote, justice delayed is justice denied, unquote. We must learn from best practices in justice systems worldwide and expedite the modernization efforts. We must mitigate our challenges such as unavailability of officials, load shedding, water outages, delays in obtaining interpretation services, and reports
Honourable
of
Member,
chaotic
your time is now
conditions from
expired.
the stakeholders. The IFP supports the report. I thank you, Honorable House.
Thank you. FF Plus. ACDP. Oh, you are here. My apologies. FF Plus. Just switch on the microphone, please.
House Chair, thank you. If a member of the public or anyone else for that matter reads a newspaper, watches a news bulletin, listens to the radio, or browse around on social media or any other online publication, they will often be confronted with reports on the National Prosecuting Authority, the Information Regulator, Legal Aid South Africa, Special Investigating Unit, and last but not least, Honourable House Chair members, here it comes, the Public Protector, of course. Achtbare voorsitter, hierdie 5 dissiplines waarvoor die justitiekomitee veronderstel is om oorsig te hou, blyk onbestuurbaar te wees. Die algehele verval van die staat en die staatsdiens het onafwendbaar ook 'n invloed op hierdie departement. Met 'n onderbefondste spesiale ondersoekeenheid en 'n lomp uitgeregte verhoor en 'n proses van die voormalige openbare beskermer wat enige CP op 'n televisie oortref, kan die uitkomste van die departement nie ernstig opgeneem word nie. Die VF+ kan hierdie verslag nie ondersteun nie. Dankie voorsitter.
Thank you. The ACDP, UDM, ATM, good, NFP, AIC.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you. I'm here. Can I go ahead, Chair?
Please proceed.
Yeah. The NFP, the National Freedom Party, supports the report here. However, we want to raise a lot of concerns, particularly on Legal Aid South Africa, who seem to have reported a successful performance. But on the ground, I must reiterate that this is not the case, Chairperson. You know, legal aid, in my view, wasting taxpayers' money should not be given if there's no prospects of success. Despite that, legal aid seems to understand it differently, and they provide legal aid to anybody and everybody. I think we also need a rethink as far as legal aid, particularly to the criminals. The legal aid that is being provided, they come there, violate the rights of our innocent people, and then you must still go and pay for legal aid to provide them with a service. Really, we will look at that. Another thing that the courts, particularly the Magistrates Court, Chairperson, don't understand. The magistrates, is the PI application. The PI application was not done to be abused, but it is being abused. It's not unusual for a magistrate to postpone a PI application 8 or 10 times before he even gives an order. And look at the cost, look at the implication for landlords and things. So, that the PI application and the prevention of illegal evictions was introduced to protect particularly farm workers and things of that nature, but that has changed to a very large extent. If you look at the correctional services and the problems that we seem to be facing there, drug lords and things are controlling their business from the correctional facilities, which we know is all overpopulated as well. Chairperson, the Master's Office, whether you talk about Cape Town, Durban, wherever it is, Pietermaritzburg, the problem is there's a long delay in being able to even provide executive letters and things. So there's a whole lot of work that seems to be done under the Department of Justice, but I think there needs to be more workshops and training so magistrates to understand their responsibility. Landlords are getting fed up. People are getting fed up. Every time they go, matters are getting postponed. They got to leave work. They got to run.
Honourable, your time has expired. Thank you. PIC, COPE, the PAC.
No statement, Chair.
Thank you. Al-Jamaa, the ANC.
Thank you, House Chair. The African National Congress rises in support of the PRRR on justice and correctional development. The Department of Justice and Correctional Development and other entities and institutions receive their budget allocations under the Justice and Constitutional Development Budget Vote. These entities include the following: National Prosecuting Authority, Information Regulator, Legal Aid South Africa, Special Investigating Unit, Public Protector South Africa, and South African Human Rights Commission. We appreciate the department's efforts in improving its audit outcome from a qualified opinion to unqualified with findings. The Guardians Funds, President Fund, Justice Administration Fund, and Legal Aid South Africa sustained unqualified audit opinions with no findings for 2022-23. We note also the regression of the Public Protector South Africa and SIU audit outcomes from clean audit outcomes. We encourage the entities to work on improving as they are both critical in our fight against maladministration and corruption. Legal Aid South Africa continues to play a critical role in ensuring that justice is dispersed. It provides legal representation, which is an element of access to justice. For the 22nd consecutive year, it received a clean audit. Budget cuts are a gravely concerning, and any budget cut on Legal Aid South Africa would negatively impact on court coverage and the delivery of legal aid services to indigent and vulnerable persons. House Chair, we appreciate the great
Remember, your time is expired.
and within the ANC support.
Thank you.
the report. Thank you.
Honorable members, I now put the motion. Are there any objections?
Please note the objection of the DA.
DA,
Please note the objection of the EFF.
EFF,
The objection of the FF plus.
FF plus. Are there any other objections? No other objections. The report is thus agreed to. Honorable members, I now request you to stand and wait for the chairperson and the mace to leave the chamber. That concludes the business for the day, and the House is adjourned.